to share with you a very intriguing conversation that I had with a new client of mine. It's my hope that what I share with her is a help to you the way it was to her. She's 39 years old. She is an attorney with 2 children. She is in a 12-year relationship with the father of her 2 children. She said to me, Doc, I'm coming to you. I'm Christian. He is atheist. I'm struggling in this relationship because I want to be married to him. I really do love him in spite of all the things that we've gone through, but I'm really struggling because the affair that he had on me is really destroying me. I said, well, how are you 2 managing to cohabitate with the affair? She said, well, we're still living with one another, but we don't have a very solid relationship. We don't communicate well with one another, but we are living together as a couple. I said, are you married? She bursted out crying. She probably cried for 3 minutes, maybe one of the longest cries that I've sat through, and I allowed her, as I do all my clients, to feel. She felt that, and I told her she was fine to take her time because I hadn't, at that time didn't have enough information to really say much of anything. So she finished crying or got to a reasonable place and said, no, Doc, I'm not married, but I do want to be married. I said, so you do want to be married? She said, yes, sir. I said, then why won't he marry you? She said, well, he said to me, he won't marry me because I'm a Christian. He's an atheist. And the only way that he will consider marrying me is if I become an atheist. And then he will consider maybe doing some counseling together for them to work out their problems. But he doesn't even want to go to counseling if they don't believe the same things. I said, interesting. I said, was this the case when you met him? She said, yes, sir. I said, so when you met him 12 years ago, he was an atheist, correct? She said, yes, sir. I said, why? Or rather, when you started dating him 12 years ago, he was an atheist. She said, yes, sir. I said, so what made you think that your engagement with him was going to change him? She said, it wasn't that I thought I was going to be able to change him as much as I thought that love would change him and that we had the same values and those things would change him. Then she started crying again. Very hard again this time. I let her cry. She said, Doc, if I'm being honest, this really hurts because at the end of the day, we already have a family. And I don't want to be a single mother. I said, ma'am, you already are a single mother. She started crying again, really hard. This time I interrupted her. I said, ma'am, listen, I'm not trying to hurt your feelings. You came to me and said at the beginning of the call, you came to me because you knew I would be truthful. I think one of the hallmarks of my work is that my job is to really get people to a place of self-awareness. What's that? Honesty about who you are, where you are, and what you're doing. That requires honesty. And so we're here now. I said, so the point is not to hurt your feelings, but it is to suggest that you are really using the wrong language to describe your relationship with this gentleman. And the reality is your language is reflecting where you are in terms of this relationship. And it's also reflecting your poor judgment or evaluation of the relationship. I said, ma'am, where he is in your mind and where he is in reality is not matching. And that's a problem. You've said 2 things that are fundamentally wrong. Number one, you said you don't want to be a single mother, but technically you are. And you have to embrace that and own that so that you can see this situation for what it is and not for what you hoped it would be. And then number 2, you continue to talk about the affair that he had. He had an affair. It really hurt me. The affair lasted 2 years. It really hurt me when I found out about it. He, in essence, told me to just deal with the affair, to get over it. He said all of these things about the affair, the affair, the affair, the affair. I said, ma'am, that was not an affair. You're not married. He cheated. And you're probably wondering why I'm being so picky about language. But the reason why I'm being so picky about language is so that you can get out of your feelings and get in your mind and think clearly. She started crying again. I said, ma'am, I'm really not trying to hurt you. She said, no, Doc, you're not hurting me. She said, that's what I needed to hear, and it brings so much clarity. I said, your struggles, ma'am, at the end of the day really aren't about him. At this point, your struggles is about the damage your environment, these 12 years you spent with him. It's about the damage that environment over 12 years has created over time. So let me give you an easy analogy to make this make sense. I said, I was cutting grass last week in my backyard, and it's getting warm outside. And when I was cutting, I got to this area close to the woods, way away from the house, but close to the woods. Got to this area where I saw all of these mounds of dirt and ants everywhere. So, my initial country mind was thinking, okay, what's dead? Is there something dead back here? Is there food back here? Whatever. I didn't see any food. I didn't see any signs of food or animals anywhere. Obviously, I was near the woods, so it may not have been the best assessment, but based on what I saw, I didn't see any of those things. So I ended up cutting the grass. And when I cut the grass, I finished. I came in and went to Google like a lot of people do, and I typed in mounds of ants in yard. And the first thing that came up was a very interesting article by a reputable pest control company that said that anytime you see mounds of dirt in your yard with a lot of ants, that means there's infestation in the ground. She's listening intently. I said, ma'am, do you know what that means? She says, I think so. I said, what do you think that means? She said, I believe that means that the ants and the sand and the dirt, rather, are really a reflection or a manifestation of deeper problems. I said, ma'am, you're very smart. I said, the reality is what you're saying about him having an affair when he's not your husband, what you're saying about your fear about being a single mother when you already are one, is really a reflection of deeper challenges you have within you that you need to resolve. I said, because ma'am, as long as you continue to label these things as these things when they really are not, you are absolutely operating in a space where we see the ants. We see that you're a single mom. We see that he cheated and did not have an affair, but you're calling it something else is really covering a deeper level of infestation that's inside of you that you've got to resolve. She started crying lightly this time. She said, Doc, what could that infestation be? I said, well, it can be a number of things, from worthiness to the need of feeling like you need this relationship to validate who you are as a person, to good old-fashioned fear that causes you to think that maybe I should change because maybe he won't change, or stay, rather, I should stay because maybe he won't change, or maybe he can become a better person if I just stick around. Or fear causing you to look at this situation as something that it really isn't. I said, but ma'am, at the end of the day, your environment has absolutely caused you to live in your feelings and not in your mind. I said, ma'am, you know my 5 areas of healing? She said, I do. I said, what are they? She said, mental, emotional, spiritual, physical, financial. I said, say it again. She said, mental, emotional, spiritual, physical, financial. I said, notice I didn't say emotional, mental. I said mental, emotional. When people live in environments filled with infestation and they think they're in love, they will lead with their emotions instead of their mind. I said, ma'am, you're also a very feminine woman. That's a different topic for a different day, but understand, one of your strengths as a feminine woman are your emotions. I said, ma'am, I need you to reverse the order. I need you to get out of your feelings and get into your mind so you can evaluate this environment for the infestation that exists in it, so that you can see this clearly. And I'm pleased to report we only had one session. She wasted 0 time. She sent me a long message the next day after that, telling me that she talked with him. She is moving out of that space. She's taking their children and she's going to attempt to build her life in a healthy way. She doesn't know how the relationship is going to turn out, but she recognizes that she's got to start moving with her mind and stop being led so much with her feelings. I hope this made sense. If it did, type church in the comments with 3 R's. And then remember, you've got 2 jobs. 1, be better today than what you were yesterday. And 2, don't forget what I told you. What's up, everybody? This is Dr. Zeb. Listen, I've been dying to make this announcement for a very long time now, and I'm pleased to say that Inspire Nation has officially launched. Yes, we finally got a Facebook and YouTube community group where we're going to have exclusive content, exclusive shorts, exclusive discussion prompts, where we're going to engage with other people literally around the world who are on the same healing journey that we're on. I need you to go find these pages right now on Facebook and YouTube. Inspire Nation, follow the page, join the group, introduce yourself, and be prepared to link up with literally thousands of people around the world who are on the same healing journey, who are looking for the same resources, and who want to also be surrounded with other like-minded individuals who are growing in the same direction as you are. I'm so excited about this because it's the beginning of some great things I can't talk about right now. Listen, you got 2 jobs. 1, be better today than what you were yesterday. And 2, don't forget what I told you.